Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Three Donkeys podcast. We have actual news to talk about today. I, of course, am Adam Levitan, father of the most beautiful beast in the world, Jerry. Taking a little nap back there. As always, I am joined by, hashtag CEO life no more, hashtag regular employee life, Jonathan Bales. Bales, what's going on?
Yeah, dude, this is I guess day one or day two of being a regular employee. So it's going all right so far. It feels about the same. I don't expect much change.
I am also joined by the one and only CSU Ram 88, the man with all the connections, Peter Jennings. Peter, what's going on?
Good day. Bales, as a regular employee, no longer have him as the president and boss, running hot there. And number two, I actually, even though I still lost in week 4, I made a little comeback in the primetime slate. So feeling like things are trending a little bit better than they were the last 4 episodes.
Yeah, things are looking up in a big way. Let's get to the big news first. I will let Bales make the official announcement. If you are listening to this podcast, I would assume that you are aware of what's happened by now. But for those people that aren't, why don't you tell the people, Bales?
So FantasyLabs has been acquired by the Chernin Group, who you might have heard of because they purchased Barstool Sports about a year ago. And this deal is with 2 other sports betting analytics companies, Sports Insights and Sports Action. And we're creating a new company called the Action Network. FantasyLabs will still exist as is, but we'll be sort of expanding into more and better content and giving data and providing media tools to people who speculate on sports, regardless of how they do that. We brought on Chad Millman, formerly of ESPN, to be the head of media. I'm obviously very excited about it. I think it's going to be a huge positive for FantasyLabs users and for the subscribers to the other sites, and I'm really excited about some of the things that we're going to be able to do.
There's a rumor out there. Let's put this to rest quickly here. The rumor out there is that you're completely busta when you decided to sell in order to buy more Bitcoin, more OMG, more Titcoin, more ARK. Is that true?
I didn't hear this rumor. Where did this? Did you just start this?
I started the rumor.
Are you starting this right now? I haven't heard that one, but yes, it's true. No, I would say that it's likely that I buy a few more cryptos, but we'll see.
All right, let's go to Peter. Peter, obviously this was started. Why don't you talk about how FantasyLabs got started? I believe it was summer of 2015 or maybe spring of 2015, and how you guys got here.
So the company, or at least the idea, Bales and I have been talking about kind of since the beginning when we first got into the industry, which was pretty early on. But it really didn't start coming to fruition until 2014, kind of the fall of 2014. We were really thinking about it. And then Dan Fabrizio actually reached out to Jonathan Bales. I believe he reached out like at the end of 2014, Bales, somewhere around that range, like October, November, something like that.
Yeah, it was at the end of, it was around Christmas, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So we ended up meeting with Dan and 2 developers who became the co-founders at FantasyLabs as well, Kevin and Mike. And we met out in Vegas during the fantasy sports convention out there and decided to start FantasyLabs. And pretty fun ride, definitely a roller coaster in a lot of regards, and certainly still a lot to happen with this new chapter. But it was a crazy stretch of time. Obviously, there was a big hurdle in 2015 with all the scrutiny around DFS. Fortunately, we brought in Mark Cuban at that point in time. I think that was really big for us. And then 2016 was great, and we're continuing to grow here in 2017 and excited to be serving a different market now.
Yeah, you guys came to me in, I think it was August of 2015 and, tried or wanted to bring me on. And I'll be honest, I was somewhat skeptical that we'd be able to scale really big as like a premium service. I thought there would be a lot of people out there that were just like, I just want some picks, for $10 a month or whatever. And people, I didn't think necessarily that it was a total smash that people would be willing to pay a decent amount of money monthly for not picks, but for data, for tools, for all that. And I was blown away at the response, like right away, like as soon as I came on board and started talking about it. I mean, people absolutely love it. And that was encouraging to me. Like a lot of times you see on Twitter or whatever, people just being like, give me the picks. So, you asshole, you said Jeremy Maclin was going to go off and he didn't, you know what I mean? And I hate that. I really don't want to make picks. I'd much rather give people the information they need to make their own picks. And it was actually like super encouraging for me, at least, to see that there was a huge market for this. You catch what I'm saying, Bales?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much why we started Fantasy Labs. That was the entire philosophy behind it. Like, let's give people the tools and everything that they need to be able to make their own decisions. And I think that at that time, it was probably a pretty good time in the stage of DFS to be able to offer that, where it was getting a little bit more efficient, becoming harder to win without getting good data and content and tools. And so, I mean, a lot of it was, we worked really hard, but a lot of it was just like a lot of luck and good timing and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously it's worked out. And I think there's always going to be a need for, if you're offering something that's like the best that it can possibly be to someone, and it helps them in their lives in some way, it helps them make money or helps them live a better life, then that will always be useful and you can make money.
Yeah, shout out to Bill Perkins, like from the Joe Ingram, friend of the podcast, Joe Ingram podcast. He's always like, no matter what you do, if you're the best at it, like you're going to be successful, right? So like the best trash man in the world is crushing, like the best pizza maker in the world is crushing. So if we have the best fantasy tools, data, et cetera, then we should be crushing. I think the question a lot of people want to know is, obviously the company was doing really well. Why make the move to sell or to be acquired by the Chernin Group now?
Well, we looked at like all different, there's a variety of reasons. We looked at every option for Fantasy Labs. One is that we want exposure to sports betting, and I think that's a growing market, and we really wanted to get into that. Another is the team there. So like we could raise money or get acquired by, it's not that it's easy, but it's we could have done that with a typical like VC or someone that would grow the company in a way that we really probably wouldn't align with, like morally or philosophically. But the Chernin Group, everything that they've done, I've been really on board with. I think that they're entrepreneurs and not really like investors at heart. And so I think that there's a really good fit with the guys there that makes a lot of sense.
You mentioned the partnership with Barstool. Is it true that Go Nate from the epic Vegas trip is now like a majority owner in Fantasy Labs?
Yes, he owns 51%. No, Nate, unfortunately for Nate, has no equity. But he has many Twitter followers. No, Nate was like, he was great, dude. Those guys are amazing. When I was out, I went out there with Smitty and Nate, and I mean, it was very fun, obviously, but they were working the whole time. They're incredible at creating that content. Like, maybe it looks easy, but it's not at all. They're just really good at that. We did have the deal in the works before that, so I think I've seen a lot of like Nate. Eric Nathan was the reason behind the deal, but he was incredibly valuable for Fantasy Labs. But we had it. I don't know, maybe like, what was it, like 2 months before that or something? We first met Peter.
Mm-hmm. Peter, why the Chernin Group? Like, what do you know about the Chernin Group? Like, how is this going to change anything with the site at all, if at all?
Well, in the short term, I don't think it's going to change much on the site. I mean, obviously, we want to keep improving and offering the best tools and content that we can. But, I think the Chernin Group made a ton of sense, because Bale's really kind of said it the best way, in my opinion. These guys are entrepreneurs, and they're really passionate about the space. You can tell that they love just the sports speculation side, and they've obviously had a lot of success with what they've done as well. And I think it's a really good opportunity for us to learn from them. They've had a lot of success in the media space, obviously, and that's the thing I'm looking forward to most. And the other thing that was really big for us too was just getting aligned. Obviously, our founders did Sports Insights as well, and aligning with them was something we really wanted to accomplish, and really excited to be working with Sports Action as well. They do a great job on mobile, which is certainly the trend and where everything's going. So I think it really was a situation where it's mutually beneficial across the board, and I'm just excited to learn from these guys. So, yeah, it was a fun journey. The one thing that I love that we didn't mention up front, Bales has got the Cuban shirt on. Cuban's just been the freaking man. The guy is just an all-time legend. Yeah, Bales, go ahead.
I was going to say, Peter, how did the conversation go when you told Cuban that there was an acquisition offer, or that that we're looking to be acquired?
Cuban's response was perfect. He's like, "Hey, great, go make us some more money."
I emailed him the other night. I was like, "Hey, the deal's done," and he basically said that. He's like, "Congrats! Now make us some more money." He's great though, man. He always in the beginning we didn't know what we were doing before we even met Chernin. We had been talking about all the different options, and he gave us a lot of advice, and we had been looking at aligning with Sports Insights anyway, in a bunch of different ways. So it was something that we were looking at, and Chernin Group obviously was as well. I think they were actually looking at Sports Insights before us.
One thing that stood out to me, Bales told me a little while ago that Chad Millman was going to be in charge, and I was like, holy shit, like Chad Millman from ESPN. Like, I've been listening to Chad Millman's podcast. Like, it's gonna sound like I'm like kissing the new boss's ass or whatever, but I've legit been listening to Chad Millman's podcast, the Scooch Pod, for like 7 years before he even had Scooch on, back when he had people, just like random people from.
He had me on. That was my highlight of my career.
Yeah, he had Dan on too. Yeah.
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 Dan, of course. I freaking love that. And that was definitely like, I remember that was like one of the first podcasts I had done, and I was so nervous, and like, I don't know, it was just a weird situation, but it's so cool that we're working with Chad now.
Yeah, exactly. So when Bales told me that he was leaving ESPN to do this new thing, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be really cool. All right, the future of the site, Bales, what's the new site going to look like from like a homepage perspective, and how's the integration going to work between the three sites?
Well, right now it's the action.io. It's just a landing page. Obviously, we haven't built anything out yet, and we literally closed the deal like a day or two ago. But for the foreseeable future, FantasyLabs is going to be FantasyLabs, and all of the, and actually always, regardless of how it looks, all of the users will still have all of the same access to everything that they have now, and those who have purchased at whatever price they have get to stay at that price. So nothing will change. The idea is that anything that we do that's different will be an add-on for people. So there'll be more podcasts, I would imagine, better quality podcasts, no offense to us, and just a lot more for people to consume, and also a lot of integrations in sports betting. So people who do bet on sports will be able to have, I'm sure there'll be bundles where you can gain access to all three sites at a lower price. But if you just want fantasy, you can have that. But just, I think opportunities to do a lot more in terms of the product, in terms of partnerships, in terms of content, should just be able to offer more value to users that we already have now without taking anything away.
One of the first ideas I had was we should do full-on professional telecasts of our fitness props. So like multiple cameras, camera angles, like get Jim Nance in to do the commentary, like get Joe Buck in here, spare no expense. This is what it's all about, right?
We got to do it. Speaking of which, how's that finger, buddy? I see you when you're talking there, your pinky's still straight, obviously. How's it feeling?
Yeah, it feels fine. I had a follow-up today. Basically, I have to have it in this thing for 12 weeks, and if I let it out, then I'm likely to have surgery, which would push it back even further. So
12 weeks? I thought this was 6 weeks.
that's what the person at the urgent care told me. I met with the specialist today. I mean, it's a bad thing. I can run, but I can't do anything else. I can't play racquetball. It's a really bad situation.
Man.
Really bad.
Yeah,
I mean, then we're booking the mile. The mile is the mile officially booked at 2-1, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't run in probably 2 months.
I haven't run either. So,
yeah,
but that's booked.
That's fine.
All right.
We need a date though.
I thought we were doing NBA All-Star break.
That might be a little tough for me because of a personal announcement, which I haven't made yet. But we can try. Yeah, we can try.
Oh, I thought that was no. NBA All-Star break is in February, correct?
Yeah. I hope I can make it. I hope I can. Is there going to be a Fantasy Labs trip still, or is that out with the new? Are we going to be all corporate now and there's no Fantasy Labs trip?
I hate to break it to all our employees on the air here, but the mansion is booked.
Oh no,
that we had last year. So I don't know. We're gonna have to pick something else. But yeah,
we have to keep that going. We have to insist on that.
I mean, I know.
I'm sure there's other mansions to be had.
Not like that mansion, dude. You know that.
That's a point. That was definitely the pinnacle of our of Fantasy Labs was the mansion trip.
Oh yeah,
that was the pinnacle of our lives right there, boys.
So people have asked me, is the team going to stay the same? Are people leaving? Bales, has anyone quit? Been like, F this, I'm not working for Millman. I'm not working for the churning group. Has anyone quit?
No, I'm happy to say we've only had 5 people quit so far. I thought it would be more. No one's quit. As far as I know, they're all planning to stay. They've all signed contracts. So, yeah, everyone is staying on. And the idea is that we continue to run Fantasy Labs and just make it better.
All right, Peter, let's get into kind of the purpose here. I think people who follow the industry closely are aware of the Supreme Court case involving the federal ban on sports betting, involving states' rights to kind of make their own decisions on sports betting, much like states somewhat have their own right now on marijuana, have their own right now on DFS. Obviously, aligning with this new deal gives us exposure to sports betting. Peter, what's your outlook on sports betting and how that can affect the market going forward?
Well, shocker, I'm bullish on sports betting. I think it's look, here's what's happening right now. You look at the leagues in America. NBA has come out with a pro stance, right? Baseball, I think they were pretty early on the DFS side. There's a lot of speculation that they're bullish as well. They've never really been against it. I think it makes sense, especially for a sport like baseball. It's going to create a lot of engagement during the grind of the summer. Golf, which is probably the sport I'm most excited about. Obviously, I love to play golf. I love DFS golf, and I think there's a big push from the betting side as well. They just came out with a new integrity program, and they're definitely preparing to have more speculation on their sport. So that's really good. Now you have the big, the big trouble spot that's been there for a while and what's really been against, legalizing gambling, even though they love it, the NFL. And the ratings are going down. They're dealing with some issues. I mean, it seems like the perfect time. And I don't know. I just feel like as things go forward, especially as like our generation gets more into politics and like it's not just these old guys, we'll see a lot of positive movement. The nice thing is, regardless, though, for us, is we still, are in a good spot, even if it doesn't happen in the short term. If it goes against kind of what we think will happen, we're still in a great space just because on the content side, you can still do so many cool things. And regardless, people are figuring out ways to bet in America right now. So I hope we get legalization, but I think we're in a good spot regardless.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, we are doing this move regardless of any legal status. So it's unlikely that it gets worse. There is upside if it gets better, but I think it's a good spot to be regardless. And a big part of why it's going to be able to grow or has been able to recently, there's just been a lot more buzz around it, is Bitcoin. And it's just a lot easier for people to be able to bet and get money on and off sites because of cryptocurrency. And I think that maybe not a lot of people are talking about that, but that has sort of grown the sports betting market the past 6 months or 12 months or so. But yeah, obviously the home run is if and when it gets legalized.
Yeah, Bitcoin's been great, and wait till they start accepting Titcoin, because once they start accepting Titcoin, we are, boys.
I think we have a different philosophy. I'm not spending my Titcoin online anyway.
Yeah. To Peter's point about legalization, people have asked me about DFS and everything and legalization more kind of across the country, and I always come back to the same thing that Peter said. I mean, like my dad, now he kind of gets it, but like 2 years ago or whatever, he never would have in a million years thought about this or thought it should be legal or anything like that. It's just kind of a generational thing, and as people like us come into more power at the state level, I think it'll just be easier and easier to kind of get people to understand that this is skill-based stuff that people have a right to do in the privacy of their own homes. So yeah, I'm certainly optimistic that the Supreme Court is going to rule in New Jersey's favor. I hope they do. I know Chad, our new boss man, follows that super closely, did a bunch of podcasts on it, so he could shed much more light than me. But yeah, I'm certainly optimistic about it as well. One of the ideas when we started this podcast was to kind of talk about business, like as part of like, we make it seem like we're just out here, trying to win money, doing all these different things. Part of kind of skill-based gambling. And let's be honest, like starting a business, investing in a house, investing in anything, there is going to be some gamble element to it. We haven't really talked about business much on here. Why don't we go to Peter? Like how much is business to you similar / different to anything else like DFS, betting on sports, anything like that?
I mean, I think business is very similar to DFS or any sort of form of speculating. I love, obviously, investing is very similar because you're dealing with risk and reward. And that was one really fun part about this whole process, was evaluating kind of all the different options as well as navigating, the challenges that anyone's going to have when they're trying to sell their business. So it was really interesting times. I definitely learned a lot. I do think in general, I'm excited about learning more about business. I think obviously I'm always going to have the urge to speculate on things. I love speculating on golf when I'm out there. I love doing props with you guys. Love playing DFS. But, the biggest stakes and the most interesting stuff with, the most elements in play is definitely in the business world. So hope to continue to do more in that. And then obviously, hope to make other good investments like Titcoin.
Yeah. For me, like something I've learned over the last maybe 4 years is that like you can make money for sure working for somebody else, right? Like somebody else's company, somebody else's dream, and you being an employee, you can make money for sure. I think the real money and the biggest payoff is to kind of own your own thing and bet on yourself. And I know Bale's a huge proponent of that. Like everything I do going forward, hopefully for me is just to be like, bet on myself and more #entrepreneur life than working for someone else, no matter what, because you're always gonna be capped if you're working for someone else. You know what I mean, Bales?
Yeah. That's been my philosophy, and just I've made so many mistakes the past 4 or 5 years or whatever, but everything that I think that I've done right tends to go back to creating like a long-term foundation of building something that has everlasting value. And that's why I go back to like reading a lot, reading books or sleeping well or exercising that we want to do these prop bets for, because it creates like this foundation that you're able to make really good decisions and create value for other people in the future much more easily. Whereas, and it's sort of synonymous to what you're saying about like when you have a job for someone else, you can do an amazing job, but usually that value, it goes to someone else, and it's not everlasting. You get a paycheck and then you're done, and you sort of like get paid in this very linear way, like you do X and you get paid the same amount. And being an entrepreneur is like, for a while, getting paid a lot less for what you're doing, and then with the hopes of obviously making a lot more that's closer to what you're worth, or what the value that you're providing other people. So that part is fun for me. And like DFS, it's anything in business like a game, and there's new problems every day. Every day it's different, and you're trying to figure out how to solve those. And of course, the competition is fun. I like probably an underrated part is just like I like the idea that we compete against people that are doing the same thing, and I think I'm going to do it better, and I think we're going to do it better. And I definitely do. And I work like that's the main thing that motivates me. I think that FantasyLabs is unique in that most people or everyone at the company, certainly the founders, aren't necessarily driven by money in the same way that other people are. But we are all very competitive. And I think that a lot of the success we've had is the result of that. And then the last thing I'd say, one of the differences between like DFS or some of the things that I've done in the past working for myself are that this is the first time I've worked with a team, and I can do things really well by myself, but I'm not as naturally talented at working with other people. So that's what I've learned a lot the past 2 years and tried to get a lot better at and still need to grow at. But being able to lead people or even just work with people and get the most out of them and be open to other viewpoints and things like that is something that has been different for me and is certainly different from the average DFS player or gambler, where it's like super isolated, and that part is extremely different.
Yeah. One thing too, not to get too deep, but I think the big driver just in general of chasing the hashtag entrepreneur life is really just creating, freedom with your time. And even if you're doing things, even if you're working, that's your choice if you're doing something that you built or that you're really passionate about. So, I think that's the case with a lot of us and for all of us too. I mean, for me personally, it's not about getting money or buying stuff. It's about trying to figure out how to have the most freedom to do what I want. And that's been the most fulfilling part about all this. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about what we're doing going forward is I really think I'm going to enjoy what we're doing. So that's the key, is just doing what you love. And I know it's super cliche, but that's definitely the best part about, hashtag entrepreneur life. But
yeah,
I think that's a really good point and very important. We talk about money a lot, and like DFS is, a lot of it is centered around money, at least for pro players and stuff. But if you're just like trying to chase money in business, I don't feel like you're ever going to be happy. It's like, why do you even why do you need a lot of money? Why do you want money? And if you're going to have money and like not figure out a way to use it to make you happy, then it's just sort of like useless to me. I think that it's valuable insofar as you're free to live the life that you want to live and do things that you like to do. And so if you're driven by that and maybe being, I think the competitive drive is probably stronger as well. I think you'll be happy. But if you're just trying to like grind and all you care about is money, it's going to be really, really difficult, I think, to be happy long term.
Yeah, I've talked about this on the solo pods on the Edge a bunch. It's like the only thing we can't buy, like no matter how much money you have, how rich you are, you can't buy more time on this earth, right? Like talk about that all the time. So like I am always into spending money on experiences, spending money on, like, people make fun of me because I send my laundry out, or people make fun of me because like I pay people to do all this kind of crazy stuff for me. And it's not because I'm rich. It's because I just want more time for me to be able to do what I want. So
and in a lot of ways with that, you're betting on yourself too, because you think that, okay, my time here is better off building this thing where I'm going to make more money in the future. And even though like maybe the EV right now isn't there to spend money on this, it is if you're thinking long term, because you're going to be able to just build a long-term foundation of something that's going to make you more money and make you happier. So same thing with why I ordered delivery every meal, which sounds ridiculous, but I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Also, just one thing, we're trending in a good direction. Levitan, you're doing pretty well. You've had some good DFS lineups. Obviously this deal is good. We're trending towards Levitan's doggy daycare, featuring Jerry here in like 2021, 2022 or something. But
yes, sports betting gets legalized, everything goes boom, and yeah, Jerry's doggy daycare, exactly. I'll say this: we're not going to spend any more time on entrepreneur life today. We can talk about it more in future podcasts. But the amount of stuff that went on behind the scenes that Peter and Bales did was just like ridiculous. Like people have no idea how much goes into this kind of stuff. It's not like, hey, we start a site and 2 years later, we sell it. Like there was an unbelievable amount of like vision and planning and problem areas that all had to go right to get this done. So these guys are unbelievable. Congratulations. Amazing. Before we get out of here, we have to give the people some picks. I mean, they're not going to listen to this podcast if we don't.
Can I get some fucking credit too for my win last week? I haven't won anything.
I was getting there.
By far the most. Come on, give me some credit.
All right. Hold on. I have it right here. Last week, Peter went 2-0 N1 to ship the props. He had the Patriots and the Panthers over 48. Cam Newton just went ham. He had the Broncos -3. Benefited there maybe from Carr's injury, but Broncos were in control pretty much the whole way anyways. And lost the Ravens +3. Joe Flacco and that Ravens offense is just atrocious. But anyways, yeah, congrats to Peter. Got the win there. Picked up 2 units on me and Bales. We didn't do any DFS last week. Not going to do any DFS this week. You can tune into the flex with Peter and Mears and Freeman if you want the DFS props. But let's get to 3. Go ahead, Bales.
We did the 3, man.
Yeah, give Bales. I'm still stuck like 500 units or something.
I keep putting up. I think I put up like 164 or something 3-man. Like definitely a top 5% lineup. And Bales, the cash game crusher, comes in and beats me again.
That's my expertise.
It's like Cuban on that horse, just coming in hot. Look at him. Got the ball.
So tilting. All right. Who gets? I think Peter gets to pick first this week. Then Bales can go. Then I'll go. We're gonna do a draft, 3 games.
I think Bales gets first.
Okay, Bales, then Peter, then.
Yeah.
Are you guys sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't remember what it was, but I will take Bucks +5 at home against the Patriots on a short weekend. We've talked a lot about why we like the Bucks offense in the past, and I just think that they're going to be able to score a ton of points. That it's nothing against the Patriots per se, but I think it's pretty likely they're going to be able to move the ball at home.
Peter?
Yeah, love that call. I wanted to take the over, but it's already moved 1.5 points. I definitely would do props around Jameis and all these pass catchers. They should go absolutely ham in this spot. I will take the over in the Jets Browns game, kind of the same philosophy that Levitan's had. I mean, we saw it again last week. Kaiser can make a lot of mistakes. We saw some Bilal Powell. I think that there's a chance here that we get more than 39 points. I'm going to take the over in that game.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and lay the 3 with the Bengals. Big performance out of the Bills last week. Now back-to-back road games. And this Bengals team under Bill Lazor, since they made the changes, played really well. Should have beat the Packers, lost that game in overtime, then just stomped on the Browns in Cleveland, which I know sounds like a joke, but like you don't go in the division and just stomp people that easily. So I think the Bengals come in with a lot of confidence, and the Bills I think are overinflated right now. Back-to-back road games for them. I'll lay the 3 with the Bengals.
Cool. I will. I'll go Browns at home. I believe is now even pick 'em. They opened as 1.5 point favorites, I believe.
Well, we're showing.
Peter.
Yeah, we're showing Cleveland -1.5. Oh no, we're showing Pick'em. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah. What was that? That was the differential, I think.
Yeah.
Peter. I actually had the over in that one as well, so I thought that was a sharp pick by Peter. Basically, the same philosophy or justification that Levitan had last week, where a lot of times you think bad teams, they're not going to score a lot, but they can have some pretty bad defenses as well, and then the defenses can lead to points. But I like the Browns there even at home.
Okay, I like that call. I'm going to take – this one will, I think, be confusing to people, but I actually feel okay about it. I'm going to take the Rams as a 1-point favorite against Seattle here. I know Seattle's defense is really good, but they're leaky against the run specifically, and I think we're seeing a lot of good stuff out of the Rams. Goff's looking better, and obviously Gurley is looking like the stud we expected when he first came out of college. I like this Rams defense. I think Donald has been very disruptive. I still don't trust the Seahawks offensive line. I'm going to take the Rams here, and I think they're going to surprise people.
I'm going to stay in that game. I'm going to take the Rams and Seahawks under. 47 points, I think, is a lot when we have 2 good defenses. And while I think Jared Goff has certainly turned a corner, like lighting up the Cowboys or the 49ers or whatever is not the same as facing the Seahawks. So 47, I think, is a lot with these defenses in a division game, which I think will kind of be a bit rough and tumble. So under in the Rams and Seahawks 47.
I will go final pick, Raiders -2.5 at home against the Ravens. We've seen 93% of bets on the under in that game. That hasn't moved. It opened at 40. But the main reason is Joe Flacco.
You're not wacko for Flacco, huh? All right. Well, my next pick is my least conviction. I don't really feel great about it, but I'm going to take the Lions -3 at home here. I know that Carolina just came off a big win, are playing well against, obviously, the Patriots. I think this Detroit team's definitely better, and I'm still not fully convinced that Cam Newton's back to being himself. I know he had a great game, but I think this Patriots defense is really, really bad. So I'm going to take Detroit -3. Not a lot of conviction on that pick.
All right, last pick for me is going to be the over in the 49ers and Colts game. I think that the books have certainly adjusted the totals in these Colts games, whereas Brissett makes a lot of big plays, also makes a lot of mistakes that lead to points going the other way. It has adjusted a little bit. It's up to 44, but I think that both these offenses could really get going in this game. We'll get Lord Aldridge out there, hopefully, if Marquise Goodwin can't go, which should lead to big things for our Lord and Savior, Aldrick Robinson. So over 44, 49ers and Colts. Any other shout-outs, anybody else that we need to talk about before we get out of here? Maybe the other co-founders, Bales?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Dan and mentioned the Dan who started Sports Insights, one of the other companies in this deal, and the other co-founders, Kevin Casada and Mike Bernhardt, who are lead developers as well, who are honestly, no offense to anyone else, they're the most important part. It's just so incredibly important that you have to be able to have what I think is a really good functional product and then present it in a really usable way like they do. It's that even just looks aesthetically pleasing, which is really important, is incredible. They're just unbelievable. And really everyone at FantasyLabs and you included, who helped build the site so much. And hopefully we'll look back in a few years and this will just be the very beginning of something much bigger.
Yeah, let's talk about that more next week, because when we talk about business, one thing that I've certainly thought a ton about is how important developers are. So yeah, let's talk about that next week. That is going to do it for this very special episode, the acquisition episode of the Three Donkeys podcast. we're on iTunes now, by the way, boys. So if you haven't checked it out, head over to iTunes. We're there. You can subscribe there. Get new, very organized, well thought out episodes as quickly as possible. For Jerry, for Peter, for Bales, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.